Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to part two of the Buffalo Industrial Exhibition and Radial Street Designs, Canal Cityscapes. Buffalo is the greatest designed city in America, in the world. Sorry about tailing out part one like I did. I had a little bit of technical difficulties, but it is what it is. So here's part two. Briefly, we'll go over what I did in the first one. Sorry about the sound. I read some comments in the video clips. Those videos are actually in the community tab of my YouTube channel, so you can watch the whole thing. They're not that long. I apologize about that. It's not muted. They're just very low. Sorry, I was kind of tired last night. I trying to put this together for a while, and maybe I should have slept on it, but I wanted to get it out. So those two videos that I cited are in my community tab. The third one isn't, but once I get this video out, I'll make sure to put all the links in the description for you. So this is going to be the industrial portion of this put together, I guess, if you will, of Buffalo history. A general swath of it, looking through the lens of the Buffalo Industrial Exhibition. So these are the books that I use. Found them in internetarchive.org, and we're going to go through each one. We'll do a brief recap of what we did in part one, and we'll go through each one of these books and show the pictures that I have, and the architecture and the cityscapes and the waterworks, how it's all connected. Pretty cool, because some of the locations actually that I'll show you, I've been to and done videos on before. So that's pretty cool. So we're going to go down through each one of these books, and I will cross-reference where this stuff is right now, because I'm familiar with a lot of these places. Some of them aren't standing anymore. Some of them are. Some of them I'm familiar with that are still standing. Some of them are still standing that I'm not familiar with. Some have been knocked down that I'm not familiar with. So if you really want to get into the nitty-gritty, you can. This is why I show you what I do. You can come in and look at this stuff. So we'll start off at the 1881. Now, what I want to do is show you that this is 1888 Buffalo per this flyer. Okay, and I'll cycle back to recap a little bit what we did in part one with the radial street design. And old maps not showing this place at all in 1777. And in 100 years, this whole build out. So this is 1888, and you have in 1825 what they're saying is something that looks a little bit mud flooded. We went over that yesterday. You got the pier here. You have what I think is steeples, mud flood action in the forefront. Okay. Then you move to 1850, and you still have a little bit of mud flood action. And I told you I couldn't orientate where I was on this one. I think this is the southern tip of where that star fort would be that we addressed before. That bad boy. That one. I think that would be right there, but I also think that they have a low angle, and it's confusing on purpose because they were probably right in the middle of disassembling all that. That's a little bit further back of a picture from the colored one that we used. That one. Now keep in mind, this is 1888, and they have the Buffalo Fairgrounds here, which I believe is the Pan American Exposition. And I'm not sure why they say the fairgrounds. I couldn't really find any literature on that. And we also have the Psych Center, which is right there. Keep in mind, they're calling Delaware Park Forest Lawn Cemetery. We've seen those videos, and they mentioned the Robert Moses Parkway system with Vox and that whole thing, and the front park down here. Keep in mind, too, The Star Fort is a little bit lost in this 1888, but not really, because you have it right here. Okay. Little point right here. Also, this picture itself looks to be a little patched. And where I say a little censored, like I showed you how Wikipedia does that, and maybe we'll rehash that going forward. So let's get through these books. Again, this is 1888 Buffalo. Let's get you some more pictures and do a little bit of a rehash of what we did yesterday. So these maps, they're showing us that they have in 1777, did this yesterday, I'll briefly go over it. In the area of western New York, there's nothing there. But there is a Fort Erie Star Fort delineation, or marcation, if you will. An 1804 map, New Amsterdam. Fort Erie is showing the Star Fort marcation. Buffalo is not. In an 1805 Village of Buffalo, bird's eye view of downtown. We got Bust Eye Ave here, Delaware Street here, Chipaway. We call it Chippewa now. You can orient yourself and look it up on the map. That's a radial street design in 1805. However, in an 1812 map of the War of 1812, we have a Star Fort here, and we just have, now we have a demarcation or a marcation of a Star Fort here, but not necessarily Village of Buffalo. We have Black Rock here. We have Cornelius Creek, which I believe is under Hurdle Avenue now. Conjockey Creek. Squaw Island, Strawberry Island. Strawberry Island was much bigger. And we also have a Bird Island here. Keep that in mind also. Now it's the Bird Island Pier. And it looks to have been an island at one point in time. And I didn't mention that yesterday, but it's right off of the earthworks. Okay. And we also have a Fort Tompkins here. I believe that's where the Peace Bridge would be. And I'm not sure what these marcations are. But okay, so that's 1812. And I explained to you Black Rock, and that was exploded in the War of 1812. This rock was blown up and destroyed in 1825, when Erie Canal was built. So did they make room for the Erie Canal, or were they just trying to hide history? Location is roughly where the Peace Bridge was built. Interesting. Okay, so that's a brief history of what we did yesterday. The radial street pattern design is the gridiron plan on steroids, and we have it in Buffalo in 1805. And I kind of highlighted that yesterday with Joseph Ellicott coming into town, and I showed those videos, and I just think that this stuff was here. And Joseph Ellicott and his brothers were a construct just to lay that in, that to say that they built it, we did this type of thing, putting our stamp on it. So that's what we did yesterday, and let's get into these books and show you the industry now. Now, I don't know if the industry was here, because these look like massive red brick buildings, but we can posit that along the way, because the cityscapes that we're about to see right now, I just it's absolutely unbelievable. Okay, so right now we are going to be in this book, 1888, and we're going to progressively go to from 1888 to 1909 to 1914 to 1915. I call them books, but these are the ones that you can grab off of Internet Archive, and they're like brochures type of deal. This one, the Industrial Show, is more like a brochure, to be honest with you. You look through it, there are pictures, just to give you an example. It's more of like advertisements for companies that you would find if you were going to the industrial exhibition at that time. There are some pictures in it though, so we're going to go through chronologically, at least as far as how they date them per what we're given on Internet Archive. Excuse me. In this book right now. So what I'll also do is, again, I'll orient to where we are right here, and also on these maps. Well, that's 1880 Buffalo. Keep that in mind. And you have the Richardson complex in this one fully built out. Both sides. I've done that before for Halloween. And it's interesting because if you look in this photo, it's only half built out. That's an anomaly. That's another anomaly. This is 1888, and the other one is 1880, and it's fully built out, symmetrical. And I presume that it has the symmetrical shape like this, or right there. This is a bird's eye view of what the Richardson complex looked like, and it looks electrical. I had this and found this when I did my Halloween show. And yeah, this would be the administration building, and this would be all the psych ward wings. And that's a bird's eye view of how I presume that it looked when it was like that, how it is now. But again, this is 1880, as you can see in the actual map date. I hope I'm not confusing you, but this map is 1880, and that's where it's symmetrical. On this 1888 map, it's only halfway. And it does say it in the literature that it was half built initially for the women's ward, or it's either the women's or the men's ward. It was only half built, and then the other half was built later. That's an anomaly. That doesn't add up. That's another thing that I'm saying. I mean, I don't really know what I'm saying. All I'm saying is that if you follow me, it doesn't make sense chronologically for what they tell us in the literature. That's what I'm talking at you about. Okay, so let's go. I believe I explained that enough. We're in the 1888 exhibition World's Fair book photos. I think this is the southern tip of the Star Fort in Buffalo, because you have the pier here. It looks like this is the harbor. You got the Grand Trunk Railway. That's a play on, great song, great band, is Grand Funk Railroad. Take Me Back to My Home. Phenomenal song. This is an anomaly here. I couldn't find anything on these bad boys. So in 1838, or at least that's what they're telling us this image is, and it says the Buffalo City Guards, the churches, in quotes. 1838. Couldn't really find anything on this. It looks like we have military going on. It looks like we have mud. But does it not also look like we have blocks in the street, or is that just, I mean, is that tramways covered up? Because there were a lot of tramways, as we spoke about when I was with Michelle and Cam in the old world. Now this would be a view from Fort Erie, Canada. Right here, and again, we went over this yesterday also. You have the Star Fort that I cited in the beginning where X marks the spot. That's Fort Erie. And so in this picture, they're calling it a view of Buffalo looking through the ruins of Fort Erie. And I can only presume that that's around early 1800s. I mean, this book is 1888, so either thereof or before. And you have spires, you have build-out, you have what look like ruins in the old Fort Erie. And again, that would be right there. You go, old Fort Erie. Remember that island I told you about? Now this is what you would call, this is the Bird Island Pier. And you could walk, there you go, Bird Island Reef. Now in that old 1812 picture, remember it looked like an island right here? Right off the earthworks, which is now that pumping station. I did that also. But it does look like there is a submerged island, as it shows in that 1812 picture. Show it to you again for a quick reference. Okay, Fort Erie, Fort Erie, Fort Erie. And we have X marks the spot for that Star Fort, of course. Maybe got something going on here also. This is for certain, an earthwork Star Fort. Earthwork, I say, because it's effectively geo-engineered. The grass is also leveled to make the star shape, not just the actual citadel itself. And I believe they hid the one right across. I mean, you really cannot. It's unrecognizable now that there was a Star Fort here, and it's not even talked about that. There is an old Fort Porter, and we'll see pictures of that. But as far as the Star Fort, it's completely covered. Although you can see it here, the points of it here. See it here. In this map, not so much. Now this map is an interesting one. This map says is dated in the Library of Congress as being 1888 as well, old. And this one's got half the Richardson complex shown. It's also got the Buffalo Fairgrounds shown. And the Star Fort system and the Star Fort shape is lost. They purposely do that, show different angles of these cityscapes to hide the geometric radial pattern. The videos that I showed you in the beginning, part one, they were honoring how beautiful that was. Well, it doesn't seem that they had that agenda in these pictures because they're literally hiding the radial street pattern. But again, they were giving Joseph Ellicott and his brothers props big time in these videos. So why are they hiding these radial street patterns cities? And now I'd like to reference the video that I also shared in my community that UAP did a phenomenal job about Philadelphia. And that's kind of what we're saying. You know, to address what Matt at Quantum of Conscience had said, you know, putting our feet to the fire. I appreciate that. Thank you very much. And with what my reply to you though, Matt, I didn't know that we were on the clock. That's cool. And hey, I appreciate and I look up to you and I love your channel. But I don't want to be felt like we're put on the clock professionally as a rebuttal to you, because I think that kind of speeds the process up and we make mistakes. I don't know what we're looking at, and I also would like to get away from using the word, it's in the title of my channel, but Tartaria, I think, is a sector of the Old World. I think Buffalo was the Moorish sector of the Old World. I think the Ottoman Empire was the Islamic section of the Old World. I think Mongolia was the Asian sector of the old sector or section of the Old World. Okay, so I'd like to try to get away from using Tartaria as the blanket term for everything, all things Old World, because Tartaria would be the Soviet Siberian sector of this old world alliance that I called it in a former video, in the Ottoman Empire's video that I did. Look at this. I don't think that building's standing anymore. That's the new city county hall. Interesting with how they say new. The article in the 1888 in this book, actually, because there's literature in it, says the new history of Buffalo. I'll actually show that to you. So yes, and I think that the Nordic and Scandinavia was the Nordic section of that empire that I'm talking about. Yeah. That's my one theory that I have as far as like giving you something to work with and finally putting a grand theory out there, Matt. I think that there were people here. I kind of agree with what Owen Benjamin says, that these empires were here, and blacks and whites and even natives were all here hustling and bustling, just as the old world was in Europe. And I think that the whole Columbian exchange was a construct. Whether or not Columbus was a real person, that remains to be seen. I'm not making any claims or assertions here. It just seems to be that the architecture that we see here, the fact that this seems to have been covered up, Buffalo, maybe with a mud flood, maybe some kind of liquefaction, maybe just a flood, maybe it was purposely sludged over like me and Philip have talked about. Using the sludge that you get from the backfill from dredging. Maybe, could it be? It seems that there was an empire here prior to the Columbian exchange, is one theory that we're saying. It's going off of the backs of what Michelle has done work on. St. John's, I don't think, is standing anymore. Michelle Campbell, when we spoke about this, UAP, highly recommend watching the Philadelphia video that he did. This is St. Louis Church. I went to that one. I did that one. I have a video on that one. And getting back to Matt, that's what we're saying here. The Moors were mostly black Nubian kings from northern Africa. And mainstream history says that they invaded southern Italy, Spain, and there's influence there in their architecture, also in the culture. Well, we have African Americans in Buffalo, and we have Moorish architecture also. So a logical thought progression would be, hey, maybe they were here also. That's what we're proposing. So let's go back a little bit here. Look at how this looked. Now, they say that in the definition of radial street design, they radiate outward from important, powerful monuments. And what we're talking about with antiquitech, and look at these spires. Notice the difference between, there's a lot of square block chimneys also, specifically different than the round ones that we see. Yep, so there you go. You got a perfect example of what you call the base, or I'm going to call it a base, maybe a nexus point for a radial street pattern design would be one of these prominent monuments. St. John's Church, I'm not sure if that's still standing here in Buffalo. I can check and search every single one of these churches, but that might take a while. I still have 1, 2, 3 books to go through. Some of the pictures are the same, but that will help me to think of stuff as I go. Now, I went to this one, St. Louis Church. This has got this is real antiquitech-y on top. It's got the nodules. I spoke about that when I did the video. This is St. Joseph's Cathedral. All over Buffalo. Beautiful. This one I don't believe is standing anymore. And look how massive that is. St. Paul's Cathedral. You got good scale there. Horse and buggy. That's the tech that built this. But they do say it's steam power, though they don't show you any footage of how amazingly awesome it would be to see in conjunction the steam power engine working to hoist pulleys up and place these blocks in perfect fashion and get the steeple up. That'd be amazing to see and be amazing to teach in school even, especially from, if Buffalo's one of the best designed cities in the world, as they say, but we can't show any footage of, for example, a building like this being built. Now, this is real old and I guess you'd say Art Deco-y and almost Gothic, very imposing looking. Now, notice the three separate sizes of the doors also. Notice that before. Never seen that feature, really. Anyone is familiar with that? Now, this is the inside of that place, allegedly. This is the interior of the music hall at the Republican State Convention in May 16th, 1888. May 16th, 1888. A lot of sixes, a lot of threes, guys. A lot of nines. A lot of numerology in the literature. But look at the scale of that. And if we are knocking these places down for the reason of it's hard to heat them these days, well, what were they doing different back then where they could heat a huge room like, look at the scale. Look at these people here. 3 rows, 2 aisles, just massive. And here we go with the canals. Another disparaging piece of literature. We're told that we were able to dredge a canal from Niagara River to Rochester, or Albany rather, but in order to move cargo, they had to be pulled by donkeys and horses. Doesn't make sense when we were doing stuff like this. And in the pictures that you seen yesterday, or in part 1 yesterday for me, but all the terraforming they were doing along the waterfront, but horsepower, literal horsepower to drag vessels along Erie Canal. Never heard of this one, and this really sparked my interest. It's called Church of the Seven Dolors, and Dolors is spelled Dolors. Now again, I could have spent hours looking up the history on each church. I would like for some of my contributors to look into this, and we also have some stuff going on here around the antiquitech, kind of similar to the video that Praveen Mohan had, where the light is circling around that antiquitech stuff, I think in Sri Lanka, somewhere maybe in India. Again, Praveen Mohan's channel is one of the best, and he's got footage of something going on around these antiquitech terminal structures. Mr. Brees, I guess they call these things terminals. Or that's one definition for them. And this is a book that I was talking about with, oh, look at that. Who's that legend? You guys caught me in one of my pictures. So yeah, these are called terminals, and this is a book that my boy, Mr. Brees, was going over with research, and you can order these things out of books, I guess, and they say that they're making them, but it seems like they're pre-made, and the terminology that they're using in that book is these things are called terminals. We also use the term, we can use the term weather vane, but I agree with you, Mr. Brees, that we should start using that terminology as well. But, it's kind of confusing then because we also think of terminals with railroads. But it's all kind of in with the whole energy thing and the whole grid radial pattern, and even the definition of radial grid itself, speaking to powerful things, powerful monuments. It all seems to be describing energy. And then you couple in, like I said, the video I cited with Praveen Mohan, and how even there's videos of birds acting weird around these things and sounds. Like, are these things kicking on, or is the aether, are these things still charging? I've cited before the Woke channel, WOKE. He does a really good job of circuitry and how that looks similar to these city patterns, on top of the proper people going into some abandoned buildings and seeing the power on still. What's going on? A logical thought progression would be, well, is the grid, the power grid that we know itself from getting electric from my utility, they're doling it out to us and they know where it's going. But other parts of the grid, is it just effectively generating the electricity itself? I've said that before, and I think you guys know that. I read your comments about it. I know that some of it has to be offloaded back onto the grid, and that costs a lot of money. To me, that doesn't make sense, because that effectively would be just another write-off to Uncle Sam if you're doing it for business. You'd find a way around that. You'd turn off the electric. Number one, is it on because it's just producing the energy itself? Or is it dual purpose in the fact they leave it on in hoping that it will start on fire? I don't know. Let's get back to terra firma though. So this is Delaware Avenue M.E. Church. Very nondescript. That's another thing that I come across with these old churches here in Buffalo. This doesn't look familiar by eye. It's got mud flood going on, action down here. And again, with the different heights. Remember in the last one that I did, St. Anne's, they said that it was because of in one article it said it was because of the ground structure not being solid enough, but I showed you pictures of the same architecture in Europe, and they had two different heights of towers. So we caught them hand in the cookie jar there, lying pretty much. And the whole story about the St. Anne's steeple being taken down because the maintenance guy was out of town. I mean, you start adding things up. This is an interesting one. Now, this is out of the 1888 book, and we're looking towards Canada here. This is Canada. This is the intake crypt that I have a hard time believing was laid. They don't even say when it is. Okay, that's what we're looking at here, and this is kind of a view. I've been over this area many a times. You guys are familiar with it. I've been down here on this break wall. I've showed video footage of how fast that current is. I've cited that it's a very dangerous current, and you can lose your life. People have on video in this current, and they're telling us that they built cofferdams to place these piers, and they showed us all those pictures of the waterfront in my book that I have, that I showed you yesterday, and how proud they are of being able to do all this work on the waterfront. And they want to show you pictures of it all. And they want to let pictures slip by of megaliths, I think. They want to show all this, massive industry. I don't see them placing those square blocks, though. And I don't see them placing the caissons of the Peace Bridge. I just see it there. This is a problem. Look at what they're showing here. I went by this in part one, but horse and buggy. You laid caissons in the Niagara River at that current speed with stuff that you're doing like this kind. I have some. You guys know I have some serious questions. So this is where we are here. We're kind of like looking. And again, notice the angle, because what I'm saying is they may be hiding. You're not, the bridge, the trusses may not be there. So when it says in Wikipedia, for example, that it was constructed in 1927, it's effectively remaining in honor, if you will, because the steel truss, I believe, was constructed on top of the already existing caisson, or the already existing piers. That's what I presume, because they don't get into detail about the caissons and how they actually literally did that in that current. It's one of the fastest currents in the entire river. They just say it was constructed, and there's pictures of them actually constructing the steel truss on top of the piers, but not they don't show them sinking the piers. And they certainly don't show them sinking this Jubilee water intake right at the same area of the river, in this era of horse and buggy. Wow. Oh yeah, where's UAP? My man, there's always a ladder. So yeah, pumping station, city waterworks. This would be the Jubilee Waterworks, and I think pretty sure that this would be the Massachusetts pumping station now. This thing right here. Massachusetts Ave pumping station. That's what it's called. If it's going to show me. No, it's not. Anyway, pretty sure that there's a tunnel from here to here. Okay, from here to here. And there's definitely a tunnel from here to the waterworks station here. Because I've seen schematics before of this place that I can't find anymore. If anybody can find me the schematics of the H.G. Ward pumping station, and it's got the floor plan where it shows the tunnel going to the Massachusetts Ave over here. It says it. And then it says that it's got one coming out to this water intake crib too. The round one out here. Oh boy. Well, there is the round rotunda water intake crib. The new one, they say. And there is a tunnel to that as well. I've showed it before. Anyway, okay, tunnel to here. And they're holding up this wall with lumber. Okay, and you have a ladder. Always a ladder. Now this is the old Fort Porter ruins. All the forts seem to have been in ruins. This is where old Fort Porter was, right here. It doesn't even say it. There goes Bird Island. Let's see if you can search it. Fort. There you go. Fort Porter. Yep, there you go. Front park. One of the parks in the Vox Robert Moses Street, or the Parkway design. So in an 1888 brochure for the Industrial Buffalo exhibition, now look at how mud flooded this looks. And it definitely looks military. But if this is ground level, look at what's going on over here. Okay, this is the actual terminal. I forget what they call this place. Oh my goodness. Let's see if we can find it really quick. Now I'm just paging through, because that building is quite... Okay, here we go. So it says this is the Union Station. And I don't think this building is existing anymore. This is the part of the Beltway railway system in Buffalo that, again, I believe was around The railway beginnings were in... The first charter to build a railroad in Buffalo was the result of the action in the legislature on the 14th day of April in 1832. I said that in part one. I believe it was around 1830s. Or maybe I said the 1700s, and I said don't quote me. But so from 1830 is when the first railroad deal was made. Now keep that in mind, because from 1830 to 1888, they had this entire web system built in that's 50 years, effectively. Is that possible? I don't, I'm just putting it out there. You guys can tell me. So this is actually the Union Station, and it's mud flooded, and it has a couple different architectural builds, it looks like, because you have the base here. You got mud flooded windows that you would never build like that. But let's also incorporate the fact that the radial street pattern compensates topography to make sure that it's still... So we're accounting for the fact that it could be terraformed and geoengineered. What we're seeing as what we could say as mud flood might be, in fact, accounting for the radial street grid pattern. It still doesn't take it away from the age of what we're saying, that I think that we found all this stuff somewhere in between 1777, that map, and 1805, and then constructed the Ellicott brothers, whatever, yada yada, that whole thing. But look at this building. I mean, look at the build out, look at the dormers, look at the antiquitech, look at the elevation swing, look at the elevation swing here, look at the old, what look to be doors that should be level all the way across, and it just gets... Is that a result of mud flood? Possibly. Is it a result of the radial terra-forming? Possibly. Is it a result of both? Possibly. Now, is that what also I noticed too? Is that a clock? Doesn't look to be a clock in there. Like, I think maybe what Michelle Gibson was saying, that are they power indicators? If these things are, the radial street patterns are radiating out from powerful monuments and buildings, power, stuff like this. Another mud floor. This is the old Buffalo Library. Very imposing building for a library, huh? Who wants to go learn in there? I'd like to go learn about some ghosts in there. But there's pictures that we have that show these. In color, and we're going to go over that too. Told you this would be a long one. There goes an anomaly. 65th Regiment. This is a little tangent, but this is cool, kind of how I do my research. Where is the other one? Let's find another picture of the 65th Regiment without the tower. It's here somewhere. Bear with me. There you go. Okay. That looks like a picture, maybe, but with tower, without the tower, which one is it? I really can't tell you. I highly recommend coming here. This is cardcow.com. It's got a lot of the pictures that I'm going over. There goes the Ward Pumping Station in color. Iroquois Hotel used to have these beautiful non-angle of despair dining room. Okay, this is the Lafayette room in the Lafayette Hotel. Excuse me, not the Iroquois, but look at the ceilings there. Okay. That's not working. Notice the ceilings. And then look at how they changed it. I don't understand. This is what you would call angles of despair. This is what you would call uplifting, open, breathing, comfortable. That's all on their tactics of keeping us down, I believe. So, yep, here we go. Nothing over here in 1777. In 1804, it's still New Amsterdam, with not even a markation for the Star Fort. It's kind of hidden. And the first railroad start in 1830s, and then we have this. So from 1812, there goes the demarcation for the fort. I built that fort in a couple of years, huh? The Star Fort in Buffalo, then they hit it right away. At the southern tip of Buffalo, you know, this one, that one. So they found it at what, 1780s, 1800s, and then they started hiding it. I don't understand that, if you follow me. And then by 1888, which is the date of this, it's a completely built out railroad with the Erie Canal, all that terraforming with the radial street design. It doesn't make sense to me, but none of this really does, and I hope that I'm making sense to you by presenting the anomalies. So let's go study at that library. I believe this is republished from Harper's Weekly, August 18th, 1888, by generous permission, Messrs. Harper and Brothers, New York. Copyright 1888. I believe this is a picture down one of these streets, pretty much right down probably this street. Look at that, and look at all the steeples. Look at the build. Look at how huge that. I mean, that's just massive up here. Tiff Farm. That's where I did one of my first escapades. Okay, here goes Tiff right here. Tiff Nature Preserve now. But one of my first trailers that I did for this channel that I'm doing, I went and bushwhacked and got to this tower right here. Got boots on the ground right there. And that's right in Tiff Farm pretty much. And that's what we're looking at here. Look at all the build out, and you're looking up towards the city, I believe. There goes the Buffalo Water Canal. And look at all this. Is this mud here? This is the Erie County Almshouse. Never heard of it, and I'm not familiar where it is. No idea. I didn't even look it up. I just thought it was really cool because it looks old. It's got a square, blocky chimney. It looks similar to the Richardson complex, but it is the Erie County Almshouse. ALMS. No idea where that is. Anybody wants to look it up? Please do. You got antiquitech, chimneys, possible radial pattern that was overlaid with something different. This is the front park. One of the parks in the Olmsted street design. And I think the front would be Fort Porter now. We went over that in the video in part 1. Parade house. Looks old world. Has a little bit of a, maybe what looks to be a little Moorish arch going on here with the spindle column and the connecting arches. That looks a little Moorish to me. I believe this is Forest Lawn Cemetery. I show this because these structures may go under more in tombs, crypts. It could be another place where I take my adventures. Never know. So yeah, this is Forest Lawn Cemetery. These structures could go underneath. We've always said that possibility. Washington block. corner Washington and Exchange Streets. No idea what building this is, but it's just very cool because it has symbols on the top. I'm not sure what symbol that is. I was trying to look at it before, and it just says Washington Block, Grand Trunk, so it's probably an office of the Grand Trunk Railroad. But I'm not sure what symbol. It doesn't necessarily look Masonic, but it certainly has build out, and you can see how ornate that is. And this is actually a good example of how it looks like crown molding on the inside of a room, just on the opposite. Phoenix Brewery, property of the Ziegel Brewing Company. Look at that. Now again, this is in an 1888 book. Looks to be two separate constructions, just like the Union Exchange building. Windows on the bottom to be arches. Very interesting. And you got refrigerated storage, malt house, and a grain elevator. And you got square block chimneys, what looks to be Belvedere type stuff on top, dormage. Maybe another building in the background that's taller. I'm not sure. Chunky, though. Chunky dormage, I'd like to say. Oldest house in Buffalo. Okay. Building churches like St. Anne's, but this is the oldest house in Buffalo. Built by General Porter in 1816. Very humble house for a general. Got this lady here crushing with the dog. Okay, now that was 1880. Now the next one we're going to go through is, pardon me, we just went through the 1888. Now we're going to go through the next one chronologically, would be 1908. 1909. I think it's 1908, to be honest with you. This is the cover of the brochure. Buffalo of today. I'm not sure what Roman numeral that is. Figure it out. Look at that harbor scene. Seen in Buffalo Harbor. Keeping in mind that it's around 1908, 1909. And I think a lot of this steam stuff hides. I mean, I really don't think it looked like that. I mean, that's just unbelievable. Maybe it did. Industrial Revolution, we're told of how dirty and mucky it was and everything, and nasty and sooty and everything, black everywhere. Look at the build out on that. You know, I couldn't find that anywhere. Could have been one of those churches, the Sentinel churches, but that looks huge. So I think this thing is what we're seeing here, bottom of the star. Pretty sure that this is that. And I'm pretty sure that they did this to not only hide the star, but to actually mine it and quarry it, like John Levi said. It hides it, and it's like dual purpose. It hides it, and also they can then quarry and take away and disassemble. Same thing over here. Like the other prominent point to look at it is right here, right here. But then when you zoom in, it's buildings. I think they built the buildings around portions of these old citadels to disassemble and quarry, and it also hides it. Okay. I mean, look at this thing up here. Horse and buggy tech. Okay. I gotta know what that is. 37. 37 is the New York City and HR Railroad, of course. But look at all the canal systems in here. So yeah, like these could have all been canal systems, and this is kind of hidden. It's one thing that me and my boy Mr. Brees was talking about. Look at how the water goes in here, and these water goes up in here. Could have been like the lower portion of Buffalo and these cities could have been like a Venice. That's possible. That's why it could have been easy for them to flood it and change it. They seem to have command of the water to a certain capacity. Who knows who they are? Whatever. But that's that. I believe this is the southern tip of the Buffalo side of the Star Fort. The parallel is on the Fort Erie side. This one seems to have been much bigger and purposely hidden and deconstructed, completely taken off the map. And such like buildings as this. I mean, look at that. Maybe that, oh yeah, maybe that was that building. That could be this right here, actually. 1, 2, 3, 4. See, I didn't notice that before. Yeah, could be. So the City Hall. And actually, I think that you can see that here. Maybe not in this one. Maybe it's in... Yes, you can. Right here. There you go. Okay, so there's that train thing, and you're looking back against it, and there it is, City Hall. There goes Shea's Theater. Very, very popular theater. Got pictures of that too. Yeah, they were disassembling this Star Fort, making it look like it was industry, in my opinion. This is one of my favorite buildings. Now this is a savings bank, because of course you'd want to have double dormage action on a savings bank. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 stories off the ground. You know, that's where you probably want to put the safe. It just doesn't make any sense whatsoever. That does not look conducive to being a bank. It looks like it was repurposed. It looks like there's some either terraforming action going on, or terraforming because of the mud flood, or terraforming because of the radial street pattern design, or both. You got to start assigning that not everything that we see that looks like a mud flooded building is all because of the mud flood, simply because of the definition of the radial street pattern design. Here goes another picture of the waterworks at Niagara River. Now again, some of these books and these brochures have the same images, but you know, now in this one, maybe it's a little bit more of a tighter angle, but that lighthouse wasn't in the other one. And where is the crib intake that I made a point of a couple pictures back and went and looked at it on Google Earth? There is no ladder on this one. Just different. Seen at the front, showing waterworks in Niagara River. The front is Porter Station, so that's another anomaly there. This is where we get into some of the gravy regarding the old horticultural stuff and these big, huge, possibly crystal palaces that Martin talks about. Martin Liedtke, another fellow awesome OG researcher there. Look at that building. Look at the scale. Look at the doors. Look at how it goes up, and it's kind of off level, or at least as far as this roundabout, or this could be a radial also. Yep, that's a huge building. And inside there is nothing but botanicals. I have a picture of that. I'll show it to you coming up. Maston Park High School. What's going on here? What was being learned in this high school? Is like a Hogwarts, or observatory? What's going on there? And this is a high school. Okay. Looks to have ground level windows. Looks to have a huge door. These columns look separate. That almost looks a little Moorish. Again, that's why I say that I think this was the Moorish sector of the old world empire. Matt, Quantum of Conscious, here's to you, brother. Lafayette High School. Now, I can tell you right now, Lafayette High School is still standing. But it certainly doesn't have that. Oh, I spelled that wrong. There you go. Maybe it does have that. Yes, it does. That's phenomenal. But was it filled in? I can go here and do... wow, I never even knew that. Look at that. I'm very familiar with Lafayette High School, but clearly I wasn't familiar with that. That chunk of antiquitech is still on there. Look at this place, huh? Wow. I should go there. This is you guys can pinpoint and tell me what places you want me to go. Sometimes it's hard for me to pick a spot and choose. Shelton Square. There goes the savings bank. This is, I forget, you know what, let's check out. I already found it in here. Oh, let's see. This is interesting. That church is not there. Or no, excuse me. I'm sorry. I'm looking at the wrong thing. Where is Lafayette Square? See if I can see these churches down there. And I know I found it before. Oh. Bollocks. I have a name for that church. I'm sorry that I don't have it written on this picture. Okay, there goes Shays Theater. We just had that in view. There you go. Shays. Now, there is a plaster company here in Buffalo, right down the road from me, actually, and the owner is good friends with my family. And they did work on Shays, and they said it was actually originally done in terracotta, which was interesting because I guess this whole thing was slumping. And what they did was redo the plaster and redo it to original form. And I went in there the other day. I posted on midway that, so yeah, one of the largest and most perfectly constructed theaters in the world. But I was just at that place, the plaster company, and they said that they they said that they redid the facade up here because it was falling over and slumping because it was done in terracotta. Meanwhile, this article says that it's the most well-built theater in the world. Something doesn't add up. So anyway, those guys know what they're doing with the plaster construction, and I'm going to interview them coming up about what they think about the Pan American Exposition. That's going to be a whole nother video, maybe even a small part series of getting, I can go in the shop and do an interview with him, and they have Pan American Exposition stuff and bust all over the shop, and that's another thing that I'm going to do. I'll plant a seed for you right now. You got that to look forward to. I'm going to interview a guy who does nothing but plaster casting for architecture all over Buffalo, and he seems to think that what they did at the Pan American Exposition is possible and doable. I seem to think otherwise. I've told him that. He's interested, and we'll have that coming for you too. Now this is another, getting back to the pictures, this is the Larkin Center. This is near where I worked when I was at work. Now we work from home, but Larkin Center is a very, very popular complex here in Buffalo because it has to do with the turn of the last century. Larkin Street, Buffalo. Okay, that's the Larkin complex now. It's still there, but I don't think it's as big as it was, and it says the factory to family works of the Larkin Company, over 40,000 visitors annually, the world's largest manufactory of soaps, perfumes, toilet preparations, and important pure food specialties. The entire product of Larkin Factories is sold direct to consumers. Wouldn't you want to get your food specialties from where you got your soaps and your perfumes and your toilet preparations? And what's going on here? We have a bell-shaped thing. Martin, you guys see that? But yeah, this is a huge, massive complex. And it's one of the more prominent features here in Buffalo as far as architecture goes. And old industry, like we're looking up. The Larkin, and that's kind of going to usher us into all these old industry pictures here. This is the Buffalo Works of the Otis Elevator Company. Now, I'm going to go through these, and I don't think I'm going to go contrast to where they are here in Buffalo. You can do that. I just want to show you how big and massive these industries were. They weren't just one building. They weren't just two buildings. They were whole city blocks, huge. And I sometimes I question as to what they say they were making there, what the intent of, or the name of it, because the names are very confusing. They're nondescript. For example, Buffalo and Susquehanna Iron Company. To me, this just looks like they were taking backfill away or putting backfill in. I'm not sure. This looks like the Lackawanna. I mean, the industry here, and you can even incorporate Bethlehem steel all along the coast down here. I think, see this channel here, the Lackawanna Canal? I believe that's this right here. And it's just huge. You can see how this is all footprint of former industry that was here. See if I can get a 3D for you. Yeah, they were all old. Now this whole stretch of South Park and past Tift, and this is actually out Route 5. All this area, Woodlawn, this was all Bethlehem steel out here. This whole industry, all out here. Major industry. And we're going to see that right now. Stuff like this. Look at all these silos. It's just huge. Elevated railways. It's just amazing. Plant of the Snow Steam Pump Works and the Holly Manufacturing Company. It's, again, nondescript, vague, redundant. Manufacturers of pumping machinery for all services and of gas engines from 100 HP to 5,000 horsepower each. And look at how massive. Just huge. This is all in Buffalo. Look at all the chimneys here. Pratt's Letchworth, Buffalo Works of Pratt and Letchworth Company. You got a little obelisk right here, I noticed. You have these for energy. I don't see any wires coming off of them, though. This looks like a radial street pattern. Look at all the chimneys. It's just unbelievable. Look at this one. Buffalo Pits Company. Now that is referenced. I could find that for a note. Keep in mind, this is a canal right here, guys. And I can find the Buffalo Pits Company. It's right here. Pits Company. Okay? This is that canal. And what I'm saying, it's not too hard of a jump to think that these may have been Venice streets back in the day. And they unflooded them, or I'm not sure. This is just a shooting from the hip. But, I mean, yeah, look at, this is canal right next to industry. And this almost looks like a picture, to be honest with you. And you get up and look at the scale here. And these are guys. This is just absolutely massive. Buffalo Union Furnace Company. I mean, what's going on? You guys seeing what I'm seeing here? It's just huge industry. This thing doesn't look like it fits here at all. Is that a pipe or is that a catwalk on top of those silos? And is this something that's common in the Industrial Revolution, putting a house on stilts, 70 feet off the ground? I thought that was kind of funny. This is the works of the Buffalo Cement Company, another very vague, nondescript name for a business. You have railroad feeding it in from the back. And, is this making the backfill for filling in this, or pulling it away? You know, like I showed you the tool that they had to possibly dig away the mud flood in part one. Is that what all this industry was for? And they just were naming it other names. I don't know. I'm not saying that's definitely what they were doing. It's a possibility. It's definitely a logical thought progression, because they're just piles of stuff, and they say it's either Susquehanna steel or cement. How are we to differentiate what it was? They could have labeled it anything they wanted. Now this isn't a big complex here. Oh no, this was the Great Arrow building. Great Arrow was a part of the midway of the Pan American Exposition. That portion, the top left of the Pan American Exposition, was called the midway. And right now, currently, what sits in that position is the Great Arrow. Pierce Arrow. Pierce Arrow Factory Complex. And I want to show you what that building is. And how they can change stuff around, and you can't even tell. See that building? That is that building. And behind there is the Great Arrow Complex. I don't know why I didn't have it. I think I have another picture of it. But see that building? Boom. That's it. This is the Great Arrow Complex, and this would have been the northwest section of the Pan American Exposition. It was called the Midway. Okay, up here, the Midway. Called the Midway. Now it is okay, here's the Midway. Now that effectively in Buffalo right now is the right here. The Great Arrow is where the Midway was in the Pan Am Exposition. Just so you know, for reference, I wanted to make sure I hammer that out for you, because the Pierce Arrow is a very prominent feature here in Buffalo, and it's the old portion of the Midway area of the Pan American Exposition, and we all know what's going on with those things. Howdy McCluskey is a great show, great channel for that. Very, very good. He's got a book out too. Howdy McCluskey. Okay, there goes the 65th Regiment with no tower. Looks to be a picture, but it looks to be a picture that doesn't make sense. It looks isometric up here, but it looks straight dead on from the ground level, and it doesn't make sense. We got some fuzzy stuff here, on top of the fact that I've showed you previously that the 65th Regiment at one point in time had a tower. Okay. What's going on here? It looks maybe mud flooded or terraformed. It looks huge. Look at the build out. And 1906. Okay. No tower here. I don't know what to tell you other than that's definitely an anomaly. Delaware Park. Look at the scale of that lion. That's right by the Albright Knox Art Gallery. That's actually the Elmwood Bridge right here. I believe that would have been this bridge. Or one of them around here. Dredging plant, the Great Lakes Construction Company. There you go, Philip. That's a company that did it. Philip Druzinen, we were talking about it. I was going back and forth with him, giving him ideas about what I think, how this we found this radial street grid and the whole dredging of being able to command the water. And he said try to find a company that actually did that and look into it. If anybody wants to look into this company, the Great Lakes Construction Company, they seem to have been the company that was dredging a lot of these canals and maybe even backfilling what we would think that looks like mudflood. Interior of Shays. Look at this, is old school. One of the most well built in the entire world, but the terracotta on top was slumping over. Per what I was talking about with the guy at the plaster company down the street from my house. Plant of Farrar and Tefts. Very, again, nondescript. Manufacturers of boilers, tanks, steam and gas engines. That's all it is pretty much. Propeller wheels, brass castings, and machine work. East Buffalo Iron Works. Farrar and Tefts again. Proprietors. Manufacturers of castings of every description. Capacity 100 tons per day. Just massive. But it was a growing city, and you got another squared off chimney block. Lutz Bros and Company. Now look at that. It looks like we have a little bit of water in the background, and I can't get an idea of where we are here. But look at the build out and look at the scale of this building. Plant of Lutz Bros and Company. It looks like it's on the waterfront, but that might be smudged out on purpose to, because I don't know what this looks like. A fort, maybe? Checking out my timing here. Pretty long one, but that's good. Works of the Buffalo Gas Company. Nondescript picture. Seen one of it earlier also. Is this a partially built silo? A lot of industry here in Buffalo. The radial street pattern. I think that we stumbled upon this, and it may have been buried, and I think that we dug it out. The plant and the sales room of the Pierce Arrow. There we go. I should have put this picture right next to it. So this was the midway, or it was converted from the midway to the industry, to the Pierce Arrow, because like I said, here goes the Pierce Arrow right here. The midway, that's where it was. You can actually see it overlaid. If you actually look at the map of Buffalo, you see where we are here? Okay, there's the actual, the RMF Virgin Mary Church that I did a couple bushwhacking Tartarias ago. Like literally, the Pierce Arrow is right here. So, I'm not sure if they converted this previously, or I think that they converted the midway into be the Pierce Arrow, is what I'm telling you. And there's that building that I looked up, or what I'm throwing out there. And that may be it for the 1909 chronological book. Certainly is. So the next one is 1914. This is the cover. Again, you have build out, build out, build out, radial pattern off of a monument, off of a obelisk monument, of course. Now, here's a, like I said, these books have similar pictures in them. There goes the Pierce Arrow. Beautiful complex. And again, it was the midway. Larkin. This one gets a little bit more. Factories of the Larkin Company yesterday and today. World's largest manufacturer of soaps, perfumes, toilet preparations. Oh, you see the progression of it. 1880 1904. This was way back in the day. Always like this picture. The Buffalo Plant Washburn Crosby Company. Now we still have some of these silos down in what we would call in South Buffalo. A lot of this industry is still there. Okay, where we're going to see the jackknife bridge down at this harbor area, all in here. Okay, there's a place that we call Silo City, and I'm pretty sure that it's near where these were. Buffalo Plant Washburn Crosby Company, manufacturers of gold medal flour. So all these silos held flour in them. Phenomenal. Okay, look at this cityscape. In this one, it's being called the Commonwealth Trust Company, not the Erie County Bank Company. And we don't have a name on this church yet, but look at how the cityscape looked previously. I mean, this looks like it's cordoned off because it looks like it's dirt surrounded. And it looks like the blocks are all completely different than how it looks today. I can't even describe to you how this would look to me to go down there right now. Indescribable. Look at the building, or the Belvedere up on top of this building. Look at, again, the dormage and the nooks and crannies and the build out. I mean, look at this. How do you build something like that? Huge train yards. New York Central Freight Yards at East Buffalo. I believe that we have pictures of those. All the train yards over here. I think that's what we're looking at here. This is definitely the east side of Buffalo, and this is where all the train yards were. Near the central terminal also. I went to that location as well. Erie County Bank Building. Very, it's not a descript name whatsoever. I think it's done Purposely. There goes the Pratt and Letchworth Company. I've seen it. We've seen another picture of that. Buffalo Foundry and Machine Company night scene. Very cool. City Hall again. Now this is a cool one. The Buffalo Union Furnace Company, manufacturers of coke pig iron. We still do the coke here today, and not the one that you're thinking about. But look at, I mean, it almost looks like it is actually buried. And I don't know if this is common, but this looks like one of the raised railways they did. And what is all? It just looks like it was buried. And are they digging it out, or is that normal? It doesn't look like it's normal. Sometimes I'm not really sure what I'm looking at. It just looks so immense and huge and massive that you're just awestruck by the scope of it, and you don't look at the little details like this. Like look at that. Imagine walking over that, but look at the scale here. And then look at, this is almost like all built on docks. Like I'm saying it was maybe Venice like before. Canal systems with look to be very well constructed walls. Jacob Dold Packing Company, Buffalo plant. Massive industry cityscape. Dold. Not familiar though. Iroquois Hotel. I think we have pictures of that in Statler. Masonic Temple, Buffalo. Oh my goodness. Okay, there goes the bank building in color. Pretty cool. I suggest you guys go look at this stuff. Again, it's cardcow.com. Here's the library. Remember the imposing library I said? Library. how it's kind of mud flood. It's got a different level over here. It goes down, it seems like. And there's never any good pictures of it. Like, yeah, in the front, they're kind of covering it because it does go down. And I was looking for a picture in color of the Iroquois. We do have the Iroquois. I hope you guys are appreciating how long this is. There goes the Iroquois Brewing. I thought we had a picture of the outside of the Iroquois building in color, but if I don't get to it right away, look at that. The electricity building with nothing but antiquitech all over it. And look at the scale. Pan American Exposition. Yeah, that was all built with plaster? I don't think so. Okay. Hotel Statler. Again, we have a serious anomaly with the Statler Hotel, like I showed in part 1. How is Detroit on the water? Anybody have any gravy on that whatsoever? Very, very confusing. Hotel Lenox is currently still in Buffalo. And an interesting feature of Hotel Lenox is that we have it here, okay? And if you go down to street level, I always thought it was cool because you have to go down into the grill. It's below. The first level is a little raised, but you got to go down, and that's a bar right there. Nice one too, but it's kind of under. It's like sub-level. I always thought that was very cool. Now that I'm doing this research, it's even more cool. There goes the horticultural building. More of a picture. The plant of the Lippard Stewart motor car. This looks castle type deal, and it's got that flashing on top, like they knocked off all the build out. Plant of the Atlas Steel Casting Company, excuse me. And most of these industry companies have like levels of, okay, so there goes a tram car, trolley, okay, wireless, effectively. Then you have, look at this, raised level terra-forming. This is massively radio pattern city, and I think it's completely old world because of that. And on top of the fact that it has the only city in the Northeast of all the Rust Belts, including New York City, including Chicago, including Boston, including Philadelphia. Buffalo is the only one that had a sunset over the water, and that's extremely, extremely important. And speaking of water, this is a canal portion. I can't orient myself to where this looks like Canada. There's no Peace Bridge here. But is this the water intake? Because that's what they do. Or is this the water intake? But it looks like if this is Canada, and this is the Bird Island Pier here, it looks like the current's going a different way because the drag is on the other side. I don't know. This is confusing to me. But this is the elevator, malting elevator, G.O. L. Meyer, G.O.J. Meller, G.O.J. Meyer Malting Company. Say that 5 times fast. G.O.J. Meyer Malting Company. Looks absolutely massive. Looks to be on the canal. This is very cool. I'm going to show you something that hits home. Now, see where we are here? This is the Fleischmann Malting Company. Oh, that's where we go. So I know exactly where we're at. Riverside Branch. So I was looking through these pictures. I'm like, oh, Riverside Branch. Oh, that looks familiar. Oh, I think I know where that is. So I think, and I'm thinking to myself when I'm going over this, I believe that I've been there before. And I was for one of my videos. Now what we're looking at right there is literally this building right here. And I'm going to show you a footage, boots on the ground that I have. Okay, now this building right here, see this? Keep notice right here. The portal that Martin Liedtke talks about, that Campbell talks about, that UAP talks about, they filled it in. Because that's that, for sure. Look at it, guys. The windows, the layers. Look at this layer over here, too. Down below. Down below. Watch. Yep. And I'll do you one better. Because your boy, Berserker Bear, had some boots on the ground there not too long ago. There's the H.G. Ward Psych Center. Oh my God, sorry about this, guys. I want to show you this video. Here it is. Okay, yeah, well that's the water intake. Here we go. I'm not sure why that just blacked out, but let's just go to the footage again. Okay, see where I am? I'll keep in mind, look at this, guys, okay? Look at this huge building. This is one of my former boots on the ground.
Red brick all over.
Here's where the gravy goes.
Oh, wow. That's kind of bowing out. Yep.
Sometimes you got to grab the bull by the horns.
Whoa. 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 Whoa.
I wasn't even going to walk back here. I was doing something else. So that's it.
Okay, this will be a long video here, but here we go, guys. I believe we're gonna see this. I don't know what this is here.
What that is that. And actually, it doesn't say Fleischmann here. I wonder if it could be. Could it be that's the area? So anyway, yeah, I was like, well, that looks familiar. And I'm like, I may have been there before. Was I here? And I went and found this video. And this is from a while ago.
We got mortar with big brick. Whoa.
It actually looks like the brick that was lined in the Erie Canal.
Look at these transitions here, guys.
This is where I struggle with thinking that it's all melted.
My word.
Yeah, there you go. So that's how it hits home. That's 2 minutes from my house right now. Lackawanna Steel Company. Yep, there we go. That was the Lackawanna. Huge Lackawanna. There you go. I mean, I don't think you guys can understand the scale of this. It's huge. It's literally huge. I mean, look at it. Look at, you know, if this is a cityscape, effectively, an industry cityscape. Again, Old Fort Niagara, Niagara Falls, Grand Island, Tonawondas, City of Buffalo. And the area of the Peace Bridge is covered up because the caissons were probably there, I presume, because this is 1913 and the Peace Bridge wouldn't have been in place until 1927. The region, look at how built out Buffalo is. Look at how small Toronto is. Buffalo is huge. Look at this. There we go, Tonawondas. This is, we're north looking south towards Buffalo. Yeah, this sunset over the water. It's extremely esoteric. This is very familiar, interesting because we have a familiar name that's being used in the current zeitgeist right now. The New Buffalo Normal School. You can also put that as the Buffalo New Normal School. New Normal. Interesting. Narratives on repeat. Maybe. John Levi. Buildings with columns. We have this one. And we also have the Carpellis Manuscript Library. That also has, that's got the most manuscripts trove in the entire world, I believe. This is different. This is the new home of the Manufacturers and Traders National Bank. Though it does look very similar to another building that has columns. There you go. Look at that mud flutter. Carpellis Manuscript Library. It is home to the largest manuscript trove in the world. It has millions, effectively. I've been there. I've tried to get in there. I have a video of being in front of this place, a short video. And you can see the facade's falling off. But yet another columned pillared building here in Buffalo. I know John Levi is hip to those, and it's definitely looks to be a mud floodor because it has grading alongside. There you go. Check it out. Carpellis Manuscript Library. Similar to looking like the new home of the Manufacturers and Traders National Bank. Proposed new South Park High School looks very similar to Riverside High School. Riverside High School, though, I believe has the facade on it. Riverside High School, keep in mind. Okay. Raised entrance. Look at the features. We do have Suncrest here. Very similar. Very similar. Riverside High School. Suncrest facade here. South Park High School, which is built there, looks very similar. Another iron company, another company that looks to be either doing backfill or taking backfill away or using backfill, or it's iron slag, and they're making iron. Plant of the Hewitt Rubber Company. Look at the size of this. And again, you have levels over here that look like, here goes a street level, and then there goes that brick again, maybe canal brick, I'm not sure, and then a railway under. Almost like interchanges. Now this is a picture that I shared in my community tab, and everyone was wondering if it was going to be an incubator video, and it's not. This is just one of the industries, many industries here, and look how huge the complex is. Factory and home offices of Cypher's Incubator Company. Manufacturers of incubators, brooders, and general poultry appliances. What? And supplies. Is the largest establishment of its kind in the world. Didn't I say that this might be an old world mega hub? Stands to reason that they might need to have a big orphan train thing going on too, huh? Because the logical progression, thought progression of incubators, orphan trains moving around. John Levi did a recent good one on that. Occupies 8 1/3 acres of land near center of city. Operates branch houses in New York, Boston, Chicago, Kansas City, Oakland, and London, England. Of course it does. Reset cities. But yeah, incubator industry. Very, very, very odd, very peculiar. And more steel with huge piles of coke, I guess raw product for coke, iron ore, I presume, or backfill. This is inside the horticultural building. I thought I put them right next to each other. That huge building that I said looked possibly like the Crystal Palace, and a portion of the buffalo herd at the Park Zoo. We had buffaloes in Buffalo, go figure. So that's the end of that one. And here goes the 1915 industrial show. There's not a lot of pictures in here, but this is an interesting one. Oldest known picture of Buffalo viewed from Fort Erie. And it kind of looks like the ruins of Fort Erie in the last one. I thought, was it this one? Or no, it was... this one. I thought it kind of looked like this. But the background's kind of fuzzy. And this says it's the oldest known picture of Buffalo. No date on it. Just says it's the oldest known picture of Buffalo from Fort Erie. Again. And I presume the ruins of Fort Erie. Now, there weren't a lot of pictures in this one. That's where I grabbed this cityscape from, with what looks to be buildings on top of mud in the Buffalo Harbor 1825 scene. Very interesting. 1853 viewed from the island. It's all fuzzed out. It's not as detailed as even earlier ones, because I think this is heavily when the revamping of the Star Fort was going on. Hiding of the caissons of the Peace Bridge, all that stuff. This is interesting. Ruins of the American Hotel. South of Court Street was said to have been leveled by a fire. And this just looks like the San Francisco earthquake pictures. Even almost faked. This doesn't look like damage from a fire, though it could be. Another one. Ruins of the Richmond Hotel, March 18th, 1887. Again, the picture doesn't look that real. It kind of looks like a shell of a building. It doesn't look like it was done, this damage was done by a fire, but it could have been. And I'm not sure the significance either or, to be honest with you. Just a building that burned down. And the picture doesn't look real. We've seen that one before. Found it on a map. This is the Delaware Trellis Building. Delaware Park. I've been there before. It's right here. And it's called the Trellis Building because it effectively is on a hill. I've showed you before. See if I can get down there. Yep. There you go. That's why it's called the Trellis Building. Seems to have facade on it, and seems to be either purposely terraformed like that or mud flooded. Again, I'm not gonna paint everything with the mud flood brush, just as we're not gonna paint everything with the Tartarian brush. Of course, this is a YMCA, because everyone knows that a YMCA has to be shaped like a beautiful old world building. That seems to be accounted for the radial street pattern as well. Now, the Federal Building. This is now, I know that is now the ECC City Campus, and it was once the actual post office as well, because when I went to ECC City Campus, I was always told that it was the former post office in Buffalo. And what we have to look for, this is not city, Main Street. That's city, ECC North. What we're looking for is, there we go. See the building? See how familiar? Now this looks top heavy too. When I say top heavy, it looks like there's more underneath. And we have a little bit of mud flood action or terraform radial street pattern action here. But it was once the Federal Building, okay? And look at the chunky antiquitech that you have on top of here. Just beautiful, okay? Gorgeous. Gorgeous building. I've been in there. It's kind of like a circle. It's all over one atrium area that's all open right up to the ceiling. It's very cool. This whole middle part is open, and you could look down into the middle from like the 5th floor up here. It's a very cool building. Formerly a post office, I guess, but was originally the Federal Building. Lafayette Park. Again, that's the Buffalo Library in the background that we went over. This is an interesting building here. The Broadway Auditorium, very chunky, Gothic looking, okay? But it's got these buttresses on the side, and that doesn't look but 20 feet tall. Why would you have buttresses on something that's only 20 feet tall? Thick buttresses, too, unless it went further underground. Now, this does seem to have a different construction build on the foundation or the building footer, whatever you want to call it. But there's no, it's all level. It's not mounded up, or it's not on a hill But that's not to say that there's still more below. What lies beneath, if you will. Because why would you, again, I'm just deducing here, why would you need buttresses for, what, a 15, 20-foot wall? I don't think that you would, and it's anomalous. Here goes another canal picture. We went over this before. Very well-built canal. There goes that jackknife bridge. Looks old steampunk. This would be what you'd call in Silo City area of Buffalo. Scholkopf had a business building here in Buffalo. Scholkopf was also the owner of the Scholkopf Dam that I did and went over in my Niagara Falls video. Larkin factory again. 100 industries in one would be an apt description of the great Larkin factories. For here you see the household articles of everyday description being made: soaps, toilet preparations, pharmaceuticals, foods, spices, muslin, underwear, and a dozen others. It almost seems like it's your all-in-one stop shop for what would be a reset, possibly. And I'll let you read that over. Old market house on the terrace, and it's got a terminal, a weather vane that looks to be absolutely huge. Huge. With a Belvedere style house, mud. And that was the end of that one. So a lot of industry here, massive amount of industry layered on top of a radial street pattern design with anomalies all over the place, where you have Wikipedia just completely smudging out what looks to be an old canal system. Why would they do that? Why do we have anomalies like Statler building being advertised in Detroit, and Detroit looks to be on the waterfront? Very weird. Another anomaly is the 65th Regiment Armory, Buffalo, having a tower in one picture and not a tower in another, and you could see that at cardcow.com. I'm just trying to wrap this up now because this is getting to be a little bit long, and I don't want it to be too drawn out for you. But I hope I put together a good history of industry for you here in Buffalo, and how absolutely huge it was, and how important. I think we know the city was important at the turn of the last century, but I think it was prior to that because of the radial street pattern that we seem to have found, and we seem to have used the Ellicott brothers as a construct to lay it out in the common cultural zeitgeist narrative as to what they were proposing is the history of Buffalo, when I think that radial street pattern was there previously, and possibly, most probably put there from the old world empire that was here, and that could have been the Moorish Empire of a sector of old Grand Tartary, of the old Rus Empire. Why do we have buildings or canals that look like they have blocks in them? Why do we have smudging going on? This begs to be looked into further. And in summation, the radial street pattern coupled with the sunset over the Lake Erie, I think this was astrologically a very important city hub, massive Tartarian old world hub, Buffalo, New Amsterdam, or whatever it was even before that. The Columbian Exchange, I think, was possibly a construct to usher in their new age or the new history that they wanted to sell everybody. And I believe that these cities were either flooded, or we found them and dug them out down to the radial street pattern and then said that they were ours, said that we made them. That's my grand theory there. I hope that you enjoyed me putting it together. And I want to advise that I have something coming up with good friend Woody of Wood and Nichols. I've been speaking to him, and we're going to be getting out within the next couple months. We're going to connect together, and this is a book that I have, Haunted Sites and Ancient Mysterious or Mysteries of Upstate New York. Shadows of the Western Door is a supernatural survey of upstate New York. Mason Winfield guides readers down dark lanes of the local legacy. UFOs, strange beasts, occult communities, savage hauntings, secret mystical societies. Did human giants roam this region? All stuff like that, and it has locations. And I was talking with Woody, again, of Wood and Nichols, and we're going to get together and do some boots on the ground in the greater Niagara region, and hook up and link up again within the next couple months. Hopefully sooner than that, within the next month or so, that you'll see a video in collaboration with Berserker Bear and my dude Woody from Wood and Nichols. And we're going to be doing some sites like this, or any places that you guys want to recommend that are in the greater Buffalo area, Western New York area, the Finger Lakes area. It's a very esoteric region, and I think I proved that, or at least put out there a good reason as to why it's not only recognized like that now, I think it was in the old world as well. And this book can give us some good insight as to some real interesting, creepy locations. And yeah, me and Wood and Nichols will get out there for you. Also, thank you very much for all your support and your help and your comments and your contributions and your what you put out at midway. I really appreciate that. Another channel or another video we're going to be doing, I have to upgrade to an Ethernet cable, but the interview that I had with Michelle Gibson and Campbell of Autodidactic, I aim to do that again, whether it's either with Michelle and Campbell again, or I go on their show, or vice versa, whatever. You guys seem to have liked that, and we put together a really good roundtable. Maybe we can have more people come in on that. Woody, John Levi, UAP, Martin. I'm trying to get everybody together and coalesce them all together. Philip Druzinin, even Baked in Awake, all you guys. I really look up to all of you, and I look forward to chatting with all you again, getting out there in the field with Woody, and more roundtable discussions to come. So this is going to be part 2 wrapped up of the Buffalo history and cityscapes industry, radial street pattern design, all that. I hope you liked it. I hope I wasn't too redundant. I see your comments. Sometimes I do get a little bit long-winded. Hopefully I try to hammer the point home. So again, this is Dustin, Bushwhacking Tartaria, History of Buffalo, Part 2, wrapped up. I'll report back as always. Take care. God bless.